They thought he was slow. Too quiet, too simple. A stable boy who couldn't even follow instructions properly. So they let him go everywhere. Across plantations, into towns, through forests. They laughed at him, but what they didn't know was that he remembered everything. Every road, every swamp, every place to disappear. And one night, 67 people vanished, because the boy they ignored had been planning it for 4 years. Long before that night, Elias Carter learned how to survive, not by fighting, not by running, but by becoming invisible. He was born in Virginia, small farm, hard land, nothing special, except one thing, his memory. His mother noticed it first. He didn't forget things, not faces, not places, not words. Once he saw something, it stayed, like it had been carved into him. At first, it felt like a gift. Then, it became something else. A burden, because some things you don't want to remember. But he did anyway. The day they took his mother, he remembered everything. The sound of her voice, the way her hands slipped from his, the wagon moving away. My son, live, be free. He was 13, and that moment never left him. 2 years later, he was sold to, South, alone, different land, different people, same system, Black Ridge Plantation, wide fields, heavy air, endless work. To everyone else, he was just another boy, thin, quiet, unremarkable. So he made a decision. If they expected him to be nothing, he would become exactly that. He slowed his speech, missed simple instructions, let his eyes drift, like he didn't understand. People noticed. Then they stopped noticing, which was exactly what he wanted. Because once people decide who you are, they stop looking any closer. And that is where freedom begins. They put him in the stables, not because he asked, because they didn't think he could handle anything else. But the stables changed everything. Horses needed movement, care, travel, and that meant so did he. At first, short trips, nearby fields, neighboring land. Then further, deliveries, town visits, hunting runs. No one questioned it. He was just a slow boy, good with animals. But every trip was something else. Mapping, not on paper, in his head. He tracked everything. Where the ground softened, where water could hide tracks, where trees grew thick enough to disappear inside. He noticed patterns, patrol routes, guard shifts, which roads stayed busy, which went quiet after dark. He didn't write any of it down, didn't need to, because once he saw it, it was permanent. By 16, he could walk 20 miles at night and never get lost. By 17, he knew every path within 60 miles. Not just where they went, how they felt, which ones were safe, which ones led to nowhere, which ones could carry people to freedom. And still, no one noticed. They laughed when he forgot small things, mocked him for being slow. Even the master trusted him, let him travel, let him listen, let him exist without fear. Because to them, he wasn't dangerous. That was their mistake. Because by then, Elias wasn't just remembering, he was planning. Every path he walked became part of something bigger. Every trip, another piece. Every mile, another option. Until one day, it all connected, not as places, but as a system, a way out, not for one person, not for two, but for many, dozens, families, people who didn't even know yet that they would run. He didn't rush, didn't act, didn't take risks, because he understood something most people don't. The first chance is rarely the best one. So he waited, watched, built. For 4 years, he built something no one could see. No maps, no signs, no evidence, just knowledge, stored in silence, until the moment came when silence would no longer be enough. By the time Elias turned 17, he had something no one else did. Not strength, not power. Control. Because he knew the land better than the men who owned it. But land alone doesn't set people free. People do. And people are unpredictable. Fear spreads faster than hope. One wrong word, one moment of panic, and everything ends. So Elias didn't start with plans. He started with observation, who had already lost everything, who had nothing left to protect. Men whose families were gone. Women who knew their children would be sold next. People who understood waiting meant losing. He watched them for months, not speaking, not revealing anything, just learning. Who stayed calm, who broke under pressure, who talked too much, and who knew how to stay silent. The first person he chose was the oldest. A man everyone called Old Cato. Bent back, slow steps, but sharp eyes. Eyes that noticed things, eyes that noticed him. "You ain't slow," the old man said one night. Elias didn't answer. Didn't need to. Because some people don't need proof. They just know. That was enough. Elias tested him. Small things. Movements at night. Changes in routine. Nothing dangerous, just enough to see if he could be trusted. He passed. Then came the second. A man who had lost his wife. Didn't talk much. Didn't smile. Didn't look at the future. Only forward. That was important. Because this plan only worked if people kept moving. One by one, the circle grew. Not fast. Carefully, deliberately. Every new person, a risk. Every new person, a necessity. But Elias never told them everything. That was the rule. No one knew the full plan. Only their part. Only what they needed. Because if anyone was caught, they couldn't destroy what they didn't understand. That's how the network formed. Not as a group, but as pieces. Each one separate. Each one incomplete. But together, something powerful. He divided them into groups, small, manageable. Each with a leader. Not the strongest, not the loudest. The calmest. The ones who could think when fear took over. Then he taught them. Not everything, just enough. How to move quietly, how to follow the land, how to disappear without running. He showed them signs, broken branches, shifted stones, marks no one else would notice, guides, hidden in plain sight. At night, he trained them. Short distances first, then longer, always returning, always unseen. Because this wasn't escape practice, it was conditioning. Teaching the body not to panic, not to rush, to trust what couldn't be seen. Outside the plantation, he built something else. Connections. People who could help. A man in town who asked no questions, a place to hide, a path north. Nothing written, nothing obvious, but enough to extend the route beyond his reach. Because getting out was only the first step. Staying free was the real challenge. By the third year, it wasn't a plan anymore. It was a system. Routes mapped, groups assigned, timing understood. Even the children knew how to stay quiet, knew how to listen, knew when to move. And still, no one outside it knew it existed. Because Elias never changed. Still slow, still quiet, still invisible. Even as everything around him was being prepared to disappear. By the fourth year, he was ready. Not because it was safe, not because it was easy, because waiting longer would only make it worse. More patrols, more risk, more chances for something to break. So he waited for something else. Not inside the plantation, outside, the world. Because the only way this worked was if something bigger pulled attention away. And when it finally came, he knew immediately. War. Not rumor. Not tension. Real. The kind that changes everything. The kind that creates chaos. And chaos was exactly what he needed. That's when he made the final decision. Not to prepare anymore. Not to wait. But to act. Because after 4 years, there was only one thing left to prove. That everything he built actually worked. The signal came just before nightfall. Not a shout. Not an announcement. Just a message passed quietly. It's time. Across 7 plantations, people heard it. Not everyone, only the ones who mattered, only the ones who were ready. Elias didn't rush, didn't change his routine. Fed the horses, checked the stalls. Moved slowly, like every other night. Because the first rule was always the same. Nothing looks different. Not until it's too late. The first group left, just after dark, not together, never together. One at a time. A man stepping out, like he needed air. A woman walking, like she had somewhere to be. A child following, just far enough behind. No one running, no one panicking. Because panic gets people caught. They moved into the tree line and disappeared. From a distance, nothing had changed. The fields were quiet, the houses lit. Everything exactly as it should be. But inside the darkness, everything was moving. Groups forming, paths aligning. People becoming something else. Elias left last, always last. Because he needed to know everyone else was gone. Only then did he step into the night. The air was heavy. No moon. Clouds covering everything. Perfect, because light reveals movement. Darkness hides it. He didn't look back, didn't hesitate, just moved. Through paths no one else could see. Through land he already knew. By midnight, the first rendezvous point was full. People emerging from every direction, silent, focused. 43, exactly as planned. Elias counted them once, then again. Matching faces to memory. No mistakes, no surprises. That mattered. Because surprises destroy plans. The clearing was small, hidden deep, impossible to find, unless you already knew where it was. They gathered close, not speaking, not asking questions, Because by now, they understood. This was real. There was no going back. Elias stepped forward. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough to be heard. Close. Stay quiet. Follow exactly. No speech, no motivation. Because this wasn't about belief. It was about execution. They moved again, into the forest. Deeper this time. No clear path, no visible trail. Only direction. Only instinct, built from years of preparation. They crossed water first. Cold, knee-deep, then waist, then out again. Because water breaks scent, stops dogs, buys time. Every movement had a reason. Every turn had been chosen. They didn't stop, didn't rest. Because the first hours were the most dangerous. That's when discovery happens. That's when mistakes matter. And Elias didn't allow mistakes. By dawn, they were gone. Not just hidden, gone. 12 miles away, inside a swamp no one searched. Buried under trees, thick enough to erase them. The group rested, barely. Because even here, they weren't safe. Back at the plantations, something was wrong. Names missing, work undone. Silence, where there should be noise. By mid-morning, they knew. This wasn't one person. Not two. Not even 10. This was something bigger. Search parties formed. Dogs released. Men spread out, in every direction. Looking outward. Toward roads. Toward towns. Toward places people usually run. But Elias didn't think like them. He never had. Because while they searched, he was already ahead. Already moving. Already turning a disappearance into something they couldn't track. And this was only the beginning. By nightfall, they moved again. No fire. No light. Only direction. Because now, they were being hunted. The swamp had hidden them. But it wouldn't protect them forever. Elias knew that. Which meant they had to keep moving. Faster now. More risk. Less margin for error. The second rendezvous point was further. 15 miles north, near the river. That's where the rest would be. Or where everything would fall apart. They reached it just before dawn. And for the first time, Elias hesitated. Not from fear, from calculation. If the others didn't arrive, the plan changed. If they were caught, the plan ended. Then, he heard it. Movement. Soft, controlled, familiar. Figures emerged from the trees. One group, then another, then more. 24, exactly as planned. 67 people, standing together. For the first time. Not scattered. Not hidden. Together. That was dangerous, but it was necessary. Because the next step required all of them. The river. Wide. Cold. Moving fast. Not something you cross, without preparation. But Elias had prepared. Months ago. Before anyone else even knew. The boats were hidden in a narrow creek. Covered. Protected. Waiting. A man stood beside them. White. Still. Watching. Not a master. Not a hunter. Something else. An ally. No introductions. No questions. Just movement. People loaded. Quickly. Carefully. No sound. Because sound travels over water. Elias moved between groups. Checking. Counting. Again. 67. Still intact. Still possible. The boats pushed off. Slow at first, then steady, carried by current. No paddles, no splashing. Just drift. That was the plan. Let the river do the work. Stay invisible. Stay silent. For hours, nothing happened. Just darkness. Just water. Then, a light. Far ahead. Moving. Not random. Searching. Patrol. On the river. Too close. Too soon. The boats slowed. People froze. Even breath felt too loud. The light moved closer. Voices. White men. Laughing. Talking. Unaware, but close enough to change everything. A child shifted. Small sound. Too loud. Every head turned. The patrol paused. Silence. The light stopped moving. Listening. Seconds stretched. Too long. Elias didn't move. Didn't speak. Because movement would end it. Sound would destroy it. So he did nothing. And sometimes, nothing is the only move. The patrol shifted again. Voices resumed. The light drifted away. Slowly. Then gone. The boats continued, no one spoke. No one relaxed. Because now, they understood. How close it could get. How fast it could end. Daylight approached. And with it, another challenge. They couldn't stay on the water. Too visible. Too exposed. So they moved to land, north side, hidden entry, pre-planned, everything, still working. Barely, but working. They stepped onto shore, different ground, different territory. Still not free, but closer, much closer. Elias looked at them, really looked. 67 people. Tired. Hungry. Terrified. But still moving, still together. And for the first time, he allowed himself to think it. This might actually work. If they could survive, just a little longer. The rain started. Just before midnight. Not light. Not gentle, heavy, relentless. The kind of storm that erases everything. Tracks, scent, mistakes. Elias didn't see it as bad luck, he saw it as cover. Because the final stretch was the most dangerous. Open land, fewer places to hide, more patrols, more risk. But now, they had something else. Momentum. They moved in smaller groups. Not 67, not even 20. 5, 6 at a time. Spreading out, becoming harder to see, harder to track. Impossible to stop all at once. Elias stayed between them, never in front, never behind. Always moving, always watching. Making sure no one broke away, no one got lost, no one gave up. The storm covered their sound, masked their movement, turned the land into something unfamiliar. Even for the people who owned it. That was the advantage. Because Elias didn't rely on sight, he relied on memory, on feel, on knowing what was there, even when he couldn't see it. They crossed fields, forests, streams swollen with rain, every step harder than the last, every mile, a fight, but no one turned back, no one stopped, because by now, they understood something. There was no life behind them, only forward, only this, only freedom, or nothing. Near dawn, they reached it, the line, not marked, not guarded, but real, the boundary between what they were and what they could become. On the other side, people were waiting, not masters, not hunters, helpers, silent figures, moving through the rain, guiding them forward. One by one, they crossed. No celebration, no sound, just movement, just breath, just survival. 67 people, gone. Not hiding, not running, gone. Free. Back in Alabama, the search continued. Days passed. Then weeks. Dogs returned empty. Men blamed each other. Stories spread. How could this many people disappear from 7 plantations in one night? No tracks. No witnesses. No explanation. They looked for answers. In the forests. In the swamps. In the towns. But they never found him, because Elias was never where they looked. Some said he crossed north, started a new life. Others swore they saw him again, guiding more people, leading them through land no one else understood. A few claimed he joined the war, fighting under another name. But no one proved anything. No records. No grave. No end. Just stories. And the people who survived because of him. Because that's what mattered. Not where he went. Not what he became. What he did. 67 lives. Changed forever. Because one person refused to be what they expected. Refused to stay invisible. Refused to accept that nothing could change. They thought he was slow, too simple to matter, too quiet to notice, and that was the reason he won. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one no one is paying attention to, and by the time they realize it, it's already over.